Good afternoon, Jan.
Michael, good afternoon.
How do you do, sir?
Doing well, doing well.
Excellent.
What about you?
Doing absolutely fantastic. I just got back from Guadalajara, where I've been visiting with our Mexico office, the Improving Mexico office. Um, yeah, so we've been doing a leadership training program. So this is something
Yeah.
that I did yeah, almost 10 years ago. So I joined Improving, just about 11 years ago now, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, so I took the IBP is what they call it, the Integral Business Program, um, and at that time, the CEO Curtis Height was transitioning the program over to the president of the Dallas office, Dave O'Hara, um, and so I was fortunate enough to take the course from the two of them co-teaching as they were making that transition. Um, and now Dave and the other instructors, Devlin is president of the Houston office. He's another instructor of IBP. They are transitioning over to the next generation. So I'm part of that generation, and I'm co-teaching with one of my good friends, Robin, from the Houston office. And so
Mhm.
we're going down to Mexico every other week to
Every
teach
other week.
IBP. Yeah,
Okay. But so that's an internal training program, or
it is. Yes, it's internal.
so it's just for a while that you're going every week, or you will be.
Right. Yes.
It's not. Okay.
Yeah. It's a 13-week program. So we'll be making 7 trips in total.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
have
it's
so many people working over there.
oh yes, oh yes,
Mhm.
it is. Um, yeah. In fact, it spans yeah, 2 different offices. And a lot of the folks are remote, so in that area. So we're going to the Guadalajara and the Aguascalientes offices
Mhm.
interchangeably.
Okay. And that program, what does it? What's the content of the program?
Yeah, so we start off with ways that people learn, just kind of understanding um, uh, yeah, skill acquisition, so that you can now take a look at yourself and see how you've been learning skills all along and how you can apply that to this program and to others. And then we go into attention management, which is something that's very important for being able to go through this very intensive program. Um, so that's the time management component of that, but also understanding how you are spending your attention if you're doing so deliberately and intentionally. Um, and then it goes into um, what sales looks like in a conscious organization. So we subscribe to
Mhm.
conscious capitalism, and um, and so sales doesn't look the way that you see sales portrayed in the like on TV. Always be closing, that kind of thing. No, it's a different way of looking at sales that fits in with our values. Um, and then it goes through building a network, and and then kind of wraps up with how improving manages its business in terms of how it manages money, how it manages people. So uh, it really gives you the set of tools that you need to now build up to how do we put this all together to run our business.
I think I need a time management part. That looks interesting to
Hmm.
me. Uh,
Yeah. That part
yeah.
actually it's pulled from resources that you can find online. I can share with you some of the sources.
Okay, that would be nice.
Hmm.
Send me a mail with with that. No, I always get in trouble with time. Not enough time to live. Actually, the good thing this time is yesterday I
Hmm.
was continuing with historical modeling.
Woohoo! All right. So
Yeah,
you wrapped up the Google Sheets project.
No. Yeah, that one it's not completely finished, but most of it. So I put it away for a while because it's time to get into historical modeling
Mm.
again. For the moment, they can continue with it, and then shit happens
Oh no.
literally. Uh,
Oh.
my wife said, "Jan, the toilet is leaking."
Oh no.
I went to see. It was just the flushing water coming in.
Okay.
I said, no problem. Just close the valve. Use the other toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Only that valve, that valve has never been closed for the last 10 years.
Oh no.
So I took how do you call it,
A
a
wrench.
bench? Yeah,
Yeah. Or a
tried.
spanner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to in new houses you have every circuit has its own valve. Here you
Mm-hmm.
just have the main valve. So I had to close that one.
Ah.
Yeah. So okay. And go to the shop, fix that one. Then I saw, yeah, but that is still not okay. That's still not okay. I hate doing that type of work. I'm a
Mm.
programmer. I don't like it. But so I started it. Then I say, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
End of the story. End of the story. I just had the time to take a shower, to change clothes,
Oh my goodness.
and to on my computer today. Uh, but at least I think we are good now for the next 10 years. Replaced because in the end the whole toilet was moved out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there were some leaks behind, which I say, okay, I hate that type of work
Yeah.
really. Uh, so okay, it's just leaking, drip, drip, drip. Let it leak.
That'll be fine.
But so and then you see, yeah, but actually the toilet is not really fixed to the floor. So take it out,
Mm.
get some better screws. Yeah, but it's just metal that's gonna rust. Take some inox screws back to the shop,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You can never just make one trip to the hardware store.
yeah, and if you want to do it well, then it takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
I'm not too bad in it, but I just hate it. I hate it. I don't know why.
Yeah. And there are people who do that. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's one of my other big problems. I don't trust people doing that.
Mm.
The only one I do trust is my father,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but he lives 1,000 kilometer away from here.
Mm.
In meanwhile, he's 83, so
Yeah.
I just call him when I to get some advice, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but no one to bother him anymore with that type of things.
Yeah. That would be a bit of an imposition. You know, come all this way to help me move a
Uh,
toilet.
I don't know, but all these plumbing people and electricity people, something my brain is wrong. I don't trust them.
Mm.
Uh, Last time I had to a little wall with a door made, and after that I said, break it all down.
Mm.
So luckily my wife was there. She said, Jan, leave it like that. It's okay. I was not happy with the result at all, but
Mm.
no, it was partially my own fault as well. I didn't tell him how big I wanted the wall.
Oh, okay.
So he used bricks like that, and I wanted the wall like that.
Mm.
Okay. Um,
Yeah. Seems like that would
but
be a
that was,
question he would ask, though.
but that
Yeah.
was only one problem, one
Yeah.
of the big problems.
Oh.
Okay, but so back to historical modeling.
Yeah. Um, yeah. This week I focused on documentation. So I thought that I was going to go in and just tweak the Jinaga.com site, and then I realized, okay, everything needs to change.
So you did like me, but on the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So
So
what have you focused on with the historical modeling this last week?
well, I started with the connection to the database,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really get far. It was yesterday around noon. Uh, by the time I had all the tools updated again, yeah, there was my wife intervening.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, another time. But so it's the Jinaga.com site that you
Yes.
changed the documentation. Upgrading. Okay, now we have
Okay, let me find good.
upgrading the container. But so you didn't adapt that for the replicator on the cloud, or
Yes, so that was the primary purpose of the update is to bring in documentation about the cloud replicator, and then also to bring in information about the new way of describing specifications. So yeah, okay. So starting with the front page, another very small change, but I think is going to be pretty important, is that it's an application agnostic backend for web and mobile applications. I'm starting to bring in a little bit of description of mobile. The the image still says typical web app, Jinaga web app. So I might tweak that. But yeah, as you look at the code on the front page, you'll see that finding facts, it now describes the specification language in TypeScript. So we've got our model given site, match site, comma facts, and then
so of type post, join, select, yeah.
Yep. So on the front page, it doesn't go into any detail about what that means, but I saved that detail for there. But it just gives you kind of a flavor of this is the kind of thing you're going to be writing. And then we've got query, and then for displaying facts, we've got use specification. So I'm bringing the Jinaga React library to the front in the documentation. So so it's intermingled with the the regular the core Jinaga library documentation, so that you don't I don't have to show like this is how you would do it if you're doing something jQuery or something vanilla. I say no. Let's just assume you're using React. Make it easy.
So you fully focus on React in this documentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'll have it that way until there's a Vue implementation or an Angular implementation. But yeah, so yeah, if somebody takes a look at this and comes back with the assumption that Jinaga is based on React, that's okay for right now. I don't have to sell the idea that it doesn't actually depend upon React, but there's one thing that makes it easier to use in React.
Okay. Just now I saw something. Where was that? If you go to docs, oh, I lost it already. Because all the rest of the documentation you replaced as well, or?
Yes.
Because it doesn't look familiar to me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that I was going to go in there and I was going to do a couple of things. So when describing the replicator, I was saying, okay, I'm going to change that and make the replicator as a service, the first one, kind of move Docker down. And that's where I started, and that's the first thing you see when you hit docs. But then I said the second thing I want to do is to replace the template method stuff with the specification syntax. And as I started going through there, there was a lot of documentation that relied upon the template method technique. So yeah, I basically was trying to be surgical about it, and then eventually got to a point where it's like, okay, this entire section just doesn't apply anymore. Let's rewrite this.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the replicator as a service is the top thing. So the very first link you see is a link to the Jinaga portal, dev.jinaga.com, which is still running in a dev subscription. So that means it doesn't have an SLA, and I've got things to not be on all the time. So it takes a little while for it to start up. But
why this? Okay, because before it was RepDev, and before it was Dev, and now you have RepDev.
Yeah.
Jinaga.com.
Yeah, so dev.jinaga.com is the management portal, and repdev is the replicator. So yeah, those are different domains, or different subdomains. The production version, I'm planning on app.jinaga.com for the portal, and rep.jinaga.com for the replicator. So yeah, I'll get those deployed when we've made a little bit of progress on the experiment here. So yeah, I wanted to make it pretty clear that the code that you see a little bit later, just on the next couple of pages, is code that you should run in Postman. If you were just kind of scanning it, it looked like, hey, this might be some kind of programming language, but it doesn't look like TypeScript. Where am I supposed to run this? And you have to look at the text carefully to understand that, oh, okay, this is supposed to go into Postman. So what I did is I created a Postman collection, and now you can download that, open that in Postman, and then it has a collection variable that you can then just replace with your own replicator URL. Just copy it straight out of the portal and paste it in there, and then it's got the create blog posts and read blog posts.
And where is that the downloads?
Yeah, so on the first page you hit documents replicator. So when you hit the docs link, that
okay,
third,
you can,
example
I see. You can download the example Postman collection.
Yep.
Right. Okay, that's something we are gonna try later on.
Yeah. So I still have the Docker instructions in there, but then I also say this same Postman collection, you can replace it with localhost 8080 and /Jinaga, and it does the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good thing. So you can just play immediately via that Postman collection, and connect as well to the replicator as to your local installation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and what I'm hoping to be able to convey is that that you can kind of think through your model on your feet. You can put in sample data while you're modeling the system, and then write a specification and see if you can get that data into the shape you need it. So yeah, right now this is written from the perspective of you want to initialize your replicator so you can start building your app. So that leads into um, the create an app section. But yeah, ultimately I want this to be kind of a way of thinking through the model.
With Postman as a front end.
Yeah, although I am thinking about alternatives to that. It'll still be Postman for a while, but that works pretty well if I'm your guide. If there's some time that's that we're spending together. Um, so this is kind of like the first phase of the Jinaga experiment. Um, so the experiment is going to be that I run a project and I bring in developers to work on individual components of that project. And so um, and so to get them started, I'll be sending them a Postman collection that they can use to populate their own replicator, um, and and then I'll show them that Postman collection will also contain a read that projects that data into the component that I expect them to write. But then it'll be okay from there. See if you can follow the guidance and the documentation to successfully create that component. How much time does that take? What problems do you run into? And can I integrate that work with the rest of the team? So I'll be kind of collecting that data. So that is a very guided way of using the platform. And so I also want to be able to support somebody who doesn't have my direct guidance. So if somebody else comes to this, completely, all the information that they have is what they see on the site, is Postman going to be enough?
The .NET Interactive
Yeah.
as a front end is very nice, but it's not for JavaScript developers.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And yeah,
Postman is completely independent, language agnostic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I've actually tried a variation of .NET Interactive that does work with JavaScript. So I was trying to see, can I get it to work with TypeScript? Can I get it to work with Jinaga? And it was, I ran into some roadblocks pretty quickly with that. So since then, that has gone forward a bit. So I might return to that, see if I can basically give that same .NET experience to a TypeScript developer. But yeah, I think even then there is more that could be done. So yeah, if you think about the the Excel developer or the person who's really good with coming up with their own data, creating their own spreadsheets. Is there a tool that sort of skill set could really lend itself to? And so there, I'm thinking that on app.jinaga.com, when you create your replicator, maybe there's an additional user experience that lets you populate the replicator with some facts and describe some models, but not do that in the language. So yeah, kind of working up to that, I was thinking that it would be kind of nice if somebody didn't have to set up Postman if they didn't already have Postman installed. So Postman does have an online version, but it's like, okay, that's still a general purpose HTTP tool. It would be nice to just go to the replicator site and then have a window where you could start typing the Jinaga fact language and the specification language, and then
like
hit post.
a Postman dedicated to Jinaga.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, it could provide the syntax highlighting, and uh, I could probably even make some kind of IntelliSense work. So it's basically like an online developer experience. So you just have your editor and you start typing. Um, and in fact, in in the site, I have had this feature for a while, but um, if you go to, for example, the da, 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 yeah, let's scroll all the way down to reference, and there is um, j.fact.
Yeah.
So
You have to try it out.
yeah, so if you go to try it, the editor that you see here is the Monaco editor. This is the same editor that Visual Studio Code is based on. Basically, Microsoft developed the Monaco editor for Visual Studio Code. It was pretty much the Visual Studio Code project. It evolved from this. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, you can run it. You do the console log stuff. Um, so this editor, it supports syntax highlighting and IntelliSense. Um, the IntelliSense has broken as I've been updating libraries, so I do need to get that back again. So you still get, well, no, not even with console. Um, yeah, let's see, JSON dot nothing. Yeah, so yeah, I've done something to break the IntelliSense, but it used to be that this would give you IntelliSense not just on the built-in um, JavaScript stuff, but also the Jinaga types. So you'd say J dot, and it would say, you want exists, not exists, fact, all that stuff. But no, that's now it's not there. But um, uh, yeah, I'm not so certain that this experience is really helping with documentation. But taking the Monaco editor um, and turning that into the Postman-like experience for the Jinaga type and specification languages, that would be pretty powerful, I think.
And so this editor understands TypeScript.
The yeah, the editor itself is written TypeScript. The language models that you can plug into it are just wide open. Um, so so yeah, I have the TypeScript language model plugged into it right now. Um, but yeah,
We can use .NET as well.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, or you can write your own. So so if I basically oops, not that guy. I'm yeah, I'm not sharing right now, but I'm bringing up Postman so that I can kind of show this stuff here. So, um, so yeah, in Postman you've got the body that you have to say, okay, switch to the body tab, make sure that you've selected raw and text, and then as you start typing, you get no assistance. It doesn't know that that this is a particular language. But if you notice on the docs, so I'm going to go to the right page, you'll see that there is some syntax highlighting for the the Jinaga fact language, and then on the re page you've got the Jinaga specification language, and those have some syntax highlighting that seems to make sense. And that's because I created a uh, a set of syntax regular expressions that I was able to give to a Gatsby component that that then uses that to generate the syntax highlight there. As it turns out, that same set of regular expressions can be given to the Monaco editor, and it can do the syntax highlighting in real time based on your own language.
Okay. So that's actually quite nice, because it's just one environment which can be adapted to all the languages,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
which can be kept as simple as you want.
Yep. Yep. So I've been kind of thinking through, what does IntelliSense look like, and that's a little bit more difficult in this language, because this language is not intended for you to have to declare your model ahead of time. All of the information about the types are contained within the specification or within the facts. So yeah, on the read page, for example, I've got a specification that starts with site, blog.site, and there is the definition of an instance of a site just above that, but there's no definition of the type itself, so it doesn't know that that site has no predecessors, or that there's a blog.post that does have one site as a predecessor. So as you get into typing the specification itself, there's really nothing that could help you to say, oh, that's the blog.post is an available type, and blog.post has a site which is a blog.site. In fact, you have to tell it all those things in order for the specification to work. So there may not be any IntelliSense that I can offer, but at least syntax highlighting would be helpful.
But in the IntelliSense, you can still guess what it offers, multiple possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, the type names are repeated quite a lot through the specification. So it could be that it just looks back through all the types that you've declared before, and then as you're typing in a place that it knows is supposed to be a type, then it can show you that drop-down list. Maybe that's the best that I could offer there. But yeah, when you type an arrow, deleted arrow, there's no information that it could use to know that post is a possible next option.
Yeah. Yeah, already like that, it's better than pure Postman.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one of the problems with Postman is that you have so many ways to set it up, so many things to change, which you cannot control, which is for the end user to set up. While here, you just ask for the model. So it's why not?
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the big things is going to be authorization. So in Postman, you've got all these different authorization options. Everything has to be supported. But when you're on the replicator, so I'm going to go back to dev.jinaga.com. So when you set up your replicator, one of the next things that I'm going to add here is a card that lets you set up the authorization. So yeah, if this is built into the replicator's portal, then you've already got the information about authorization. So you can just go ahead and log in as a, so if you're authorizing using Google, for example, okay, log in as a Google user, and now I'm going to just have you have that authorization be present while you're making all of these posts.
Yeah, but then that authorization, it will come from your Google account then.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, the idea is you've logged into the Jinaga replicator as a service portal
Mm.
using GitHub. So you've identified yourself as a developer, and and so as that identity, you own the replicator. But as an application user, you've got a completely different pool of identities. And so if you come in here and you say, I want to authenticate using Apple, then now you're going to have to log in with an Apple ID in order to use the application, or log in with Google, or even just to keep things confusing, log in with GitHub. But that'll be a completely different. That's the GitHub. That's the application user logging in as GitHub versus uh, the replicator developer. Um, so no matter what authentication strategy you choose here, then when you set up a post to write or to read some data from that specific replicator, then whenever you push the send button, it'll say, okay, first log in as a user of the application using that authentication mechanism. And
And
by the way,
then,
yeah.
and why would that then become a problem when we do that through with Monaco editor?
Oh no, that wouldn't be a problem. That would be the solution to it. So in Postman, you basically have to set that up. You say, okay, I'm going to be using OAuth 2, and then this is going to be the you know you're going to choose which flow to use. So authorization code with Pixie, um, all that stuff. And so you have to understand all those things with Postman, and then get your client ID and your client secret. But the solution, if you're using the replicator as a service, is that um, when you when you set up the application for a particular authentication method, so say just log in with Apple, then it is able to talk to Apple, get your client ID, your client secret, um, basically set you all up, and then um, that way, now that you're not using Postman, um, it can just have all those things configured for you.
Okay, so in fact, you don't have to do the low level stuff anymore. It's just done for you, and you just focus on the queries itself.
Yes, yes, which I
Okay.
think brings you one step closer to the Excel expert being able to do this, rather than a developer doing this.
Okay, you remembered the Excel ID.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because with the Jinaga experiment, as I'm kicking it off now, I have to be the one orchestrating the developers, which is fine because I'm collecting the information about how effective
Mm.
they can be. But for being able to take this to the next level, of course, I have to be able to get out of the picture, and so somebody else is orchestrating those developers. I want that to be the product owner. I want that to be the domain expert. I don't want that to
Mm.
have to be a developer.
Okay, so if it could just be somebody with basic computer skills who knows a little bit Excel, that type of skills,
Mm-hmm.
he could uh, he could build a module.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is what I'm hoping for. That's really what I would like to see. Is that yeah, that's and so that's why I'm thinking that the language experience might not yet be good enough. So yeah, I think that's still a good step. Is let's take Postman out of the picture and provide something more specific that helps a developer to be more effective, even if they still have those Postman skills. That says, okay, at least I don't have to think about those things. But uh, but yeah, then to get to the next level, it really would be rather nice to be able to have some visual experience for defining a model. Um, I don't
Yeah.
know what that experience looks like, but that's ultimately where I'd like to go.
And that's what we have in .NET Interactive.
Yeah, it still starts with code though.
Yeah.
So yeah, you still have to write code, and in .NET it's just really it's just like 2 lines in order to write a fact, and one of them is an attribute, so it's always the same. So it's really just one line.
Right.
Um, and uh, and so it's really easy as a developer to yeah just bang out a model and then start creating some facts and visualize them. Say, okay, this is the right shape. Um, Write some link, visualize those results. Yep, I'm getting back what I want. Um, and so here's another direction that I want to see this go. Um, as an expert in historical modeling and a developer, one of the things that I could do when I go to a client, once I've got clients that are specifically looking for this kind of application, um, I can go to the client and say, here's the documentation for the application that we're going to build. So, actually do that during the discovery phase. So we do some workshops, understand the problem, kind of like what we did with DWS. Um,
Where we went through the problem, developed the model.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we do actually need to revisit that now that we've got interactive notebooks, and let's put that model in as a .NET model, and populate it with some realistic data, and write some realistic queries using LINQ, and visualize all of that in the notebook. And I see that as the output of a discovery, which is you know, after 2 or 3 weeks, with some workshops in there, we've got this definition of the model, this breakdown of the project, even an estimate of how long we think it's going to take for developers to build the different components.
Mm.
So yeah, that's I think that would be a really powerful artifact to come out of a discovery with.
Because entering data is still a lot of typing. My experience until now, you're building your query, but to enter all the data is still a lot of.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was missing there was also because you could have a sample database,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have the query all, let's say,
Yeah.
where we can discover the structure.
Right. Right.
Now for sample database, you can provide the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not sure what.
Yeah. So that's that. Um, yeah. So the structure as a developer comes from the code, the description of the fact types. Um, as a product owner, the structure would need to be documented some other way, and so that's I think the first part of that visual experience. So so if a product owner is used to looking in Excel and seeing rows and columns, so okay, maybe maybe we give them an Excel-like experience for entering facts. Now, every time I try to think through the details of that, it kind of breaks down. That's really really hard to take something that's a graph and turn it um,
into
into rows and
a
columns.
column and
Yeah,
row
yeah,
structure.
yeah. Especially because they're going to be used to from Excel being able to edit those cells, but
Yeah.
you can't edit the uh, the fields of fact. So
Mm.
yeah, so it's not a direct one-to-one mapping there, um, but yeah, something that would look somewhat familiar. Maybe it would be forms. Um, maybe you you say, okay, um, here's a fact or a set of facts, and here are the fields and how they're related, and then go ahead and automatically generate a form for entering a fact of this type, um, and it's and placing it into the graph somehow. So maybe all of the predecessors turn into drop-down lists. Somehow you can select an existing fact for the predecessor. You can enter all the fields. You can push submit, and then it creates the fact. Yeah, I don't know. So there's still a lot of thinking to do for that particular use case.
Yeah, because in that case, you should be able to build that form quite automatically
Mm-hmm.
for the user to play with.
Yeah.
Um, so actually, you should come up with some wizard where you say what are the parameters of your project.
Mm-hmm.
You fill in the parameters, and you out of it you get a form, and with that form you can generate facts and play with the model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the output side, that creating a specification, is going to be a lot easier to do drag and drop. I can almost see something that's going to work there. Um, so if you've ever used one of these drag and drop query builders, or report builders, then it kind of starts with, hey, what's your top level thing, and you start to drag on some types, and then it's like, okay, how are they related, and you drag. Yeah, like usually it's based on relational stuff. So you drag foreign keys into primary keys,
Mm.
and then it's okay, I'm just going to take all of those columns and I'm just going to pop them all out there, and then you can say, okay, remove this column or add that column, sort by this one, and now I've got a table, maybe even group by, and now I've got a report. Um, so I can see building a Jinaga specification, using that kind of thinking, because each you start with the givens. Um, so at the very top, you say, well, I'm going to start with a site. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not yet sure how I'm going to pick which site I'm talking about, but um, and that's the query all that you were talking about doesn't exist. But um, I do have an idea there. I'll come back to that. Um, but then now you've said, okay, that's the given. So so now here are the facts that I know about that are successors, that are related to that one, and you can drag that in, and that becomes an unknown. And then because it knew that was a successor, it knows exactly how it's related. Um, maybe it can even show you like a diagram of the fact type relationships, and say, okay, you're starting here. Which one do you want to bring in? And you say that one over there, and it draws a path. It says, okay, in order to get from here to here, I have to take this path. Is that what you mean? And that means, okay, I'm going to have to insert these stops along the way. And it just creates those unknowns. Um, and then, once it's got the outline, you can start to dive in and say, okay, where now exists this, and add those extra clauses. So I could see kind of building it visually.
Gonna be a challenge to implement, but it would
Yeah,
be nice if you
yeah,
could just by drag and drop build your model, based on that model create a form where they can use to fill in data,
mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, yeah, and
and
so
perhaps and perhaps even generate some random data.
Yeah, that's a neat
Why
idea.
not?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, kind of circling back to the select all that's not there. Um, I don't want to introduce that concept because that breaks a couple of things. Um, but uh, one thing that it does know is the user, and so
Hmm?
um, so you say, okay, I'm authenticating using Google. So log in with a Google user. Okay, now I've got a Google user, and so now it knows a Jinaga user associated with that one because it goes to the key store, gets the public key, all that stuff. So so if you write a specification and the only thing that it knows about is the user, it's like, okay, given user, then I can write a specification. So now if you need a specification that starts with blog, you can first write a specification that starts with user that gives you the list of blogs that user has created.
Hmm?
So so yeah, now once you've built one specification, all of the facts that you select from that one can become givens for further specifications, and then you can just you build build a group of these together, and basically you've outlined your application. It's like, okay, first of all, log in, and then select or create a blog, and then you see all of the posts. Now you can create a post, and then you can see all of the comments on that post.
The nice thing is that you would really test the logic
Mm-hmm.
of your application, and in doing that, verify that your model is correct.
Yeah, yeah,
You say, oh, I'm not able to add, for example, multiple names for a user,
mm-hmm.
and oh, I forgot something.
Right, right.
I
Yeah,
should
which
take it
is
as a
yeah,
separate fact and not include in the user fact.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly why I like seeing like the .NET Interactive as a as an output from the discovery is that um, there you are indeed exercising the model and putting in some realistic data and demonstrating the flow of the application. So yeah, just to give that power to somebody who doesn't already know TypeScript or .NET, um, somebody who knows Excel, give them um, a
Mm.
familiar way of visualizing their data that then they can express that to a developer and say, okay, now that I've done this, here is something that populates some data for you, and I want you to work on just this one component. So don't worry about how this data gets there within the application. You can just run this, and now you've got some data that you can start playing with.
What could also, now that we talk about Excel, instead of generating random data,
Mm-hmm.
just let them import from an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Um, no, for example, you say the courses that are given
Yeah.
to a certain class. Let them put the data in their row and column manner.
Mm-hmm.
Then just select the range and say, okay, import, make facts out of that, which is easier for them, I think, than typing in and creating a new fact with all the fields.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so the thing that I'm seeing now is um, I could write a specification that turns a a set of facts into a table, and I've now been able to invert specifications, which means something different than what I'm about to say, but still kind of mathematically manipulate specifications. So wouldn't it be possible to invert that specification in a different way so that here's my desired outcome. What facts do I need to create in order to get that outcome? So the specification knows that it starts with a university, and then each one of these rows is a course, and then it knows that column is a sub specification that goes for the names of that course, and then right down the line for all the other columns. And so now it knows, okay, when I see a new row, I must insert a course, and it must be related to this university that you picked, that you said, okay, these are the courses for that university. And then it sees that column and says, well, because you've got that sub specification there, in order to get that, I must create a course name fact, and that must be the value. Yeah, it wouldn't be completely unambiguous, but yeah, I think I could do something like that, make that work. That's a really good idea. I like that.
I think someone is not gonna sleep this week.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, yeah, this idea is pretty far down the line. The Jinaga experiment starts with me running the project as the product owner.
Oh, I see you thinking and
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to get distracted by building that tool. Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
But it's certain things can actually be quite easy for the end user to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where all this gets to.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, I have posted on LinkedIn about the Jinaga experiment. I've got a list of LinkedIn posts that I want to do that kind of set up what is the experiment about, and what are the next steps, and then I'll kind of follow the experiment itself as I conduct it. But yeah, I did already get a couple of responses. One of my friends, Trevor from Canada, he ran through the app creation steps and found some issues there. So already made some tweaks, looking into the other issues that he reported on, see if I can provide some support there. And then Carrie, one of my local friends, she mentioned that she's got an app idea and she's looking for developers to help with her app idea. Maybe we could build that app on Jinaga. And so, okay, this might be another product owner to use for phase 2 of the Jinaga experiment, where it's like, okay, now that we've demonstrated that developers can be successful with Michael as product owner, can we have another product owner be successful? So yeah, that's already starting to get a little bit of feedback.
In that description, you put it on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay. It's a long time I didn't log into LinkedIn, but I will have a look.
Yeah, that has become my social network of choice. Yeah, I'm no longer paying attention to Twitter, so I'll be
Ellen is getting lonely now.
Yeah. What do you need? What do you need to come up? You can come up. Yeah, he's not going to come up right now. Maybe he is. But yeah, that is what we are looking at. So yeah, we will continue the experiment next week.
Okay. Terry is biscuit. Yeah. It's gonna be the mascot of historical modeling.
Yes. He says it's time.
Yeah.
All right.
He needs attention. That's clear.
Yeah.
No, now that the Twilight issue is out of the picture for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start historical modeling again because every week is a week lost um, for historical modeling. So we have urgently to get it working in .NET. Um, let's see what we can do by next week.
Very good. All right. Well, Jan, it is a pleasure.
Then see you next week, and
Indeed.
don't forget to sleep with all that thinking about
Mm-hmm.
new models. Um,
Yep. Yep. I'll try
and
not to get distracted by that concept, and I'll stay focused on being the product owner for an application. How is that going to look?
okay, because I know once you get into something, you
Mm-hmm.
really dive deep, very deep into it.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, Michael. Uh, thanks you very much, and see you next week then.
Indeed. See you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.